Hello and welcome. My name is Josh and this is Josh C Boxing. I hope you guys are all doing well. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Let's talk about the Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker face-off. If you haven't seen it before, it's on DAZN, released it a few days ago, and I'll try and put the link in the comments below. It was really interesting. Both camps seemed very confident in themselves and very assured. The other thing that I noticed as well is that Frank and Andy Lee were there, and it wasn't really any surprise if you've looked back at some Daniel Dubois face-offs that have happened recently. You'll notice that Frank is always there. Frank, in my opinion, kind of articulates Daniel Dubois' thoughts and his perspectives, possibly when there might be questions that Daniel may not be able to articulate that well. So Frank is always there on hand to answer those questions, which is interesting. And Andy Lee was there. Andy Lee being Joseph Parker's trainer. Joe could speak for himself in that sense. So there was nothing there in terms of Andy Lee answering any questions on behalf of Joseph Parker. He was able to do that pretty confidently in that sense. But as I said before, both camps seem really confident in themselves, which is really good. And that just adds a little bit more spice to the time when we get to the fight. There's a few things that I noticed that I just wanted to touch on. Firstly, one of the things was Dubois spoke about feeling like an underdog. He mentioned that going into this fight, and again being IBF world champion, he's not going to go in there thinking that he is the champion but the underdog. And I love that. I really, really love that. Sometimes, and we've seen it before in boxing, when someone gets to the top of the mountain, and when I say top of the mountain, I mean winning a world title, they don't have the same level of hunger than they did before. They don't train like they did before. They don't see their opponents as having the same level of threat like they did before. And that underdog mentality, really and truthfully, is something that just goes. And then when it comes to fight night, they don't perform like they used to perform, or they should perform in order to win the fight, because they haven't had that underdog mentality. And I love it from Dubois, saying that he has that underdog mentality and coming in there with that kind of mentality. Because again, if you look at his record, you look at him against Miller, against Hrgovic, against AJ, all three opponents, everybody or most people would have thought he was an underdog in those fights, and he went in there and he won well. None better than the last fight that he had against AJ, and he won in devastating fashion in the 5th round. So him saying that, I love it. And I'll just say, if Dubois is watching, keep that mindset. Keep that mindset going, because in all honesty, that's the mindset you need to have. And I think that's the mindset that's just going to continue bringing wins on wins on wins and bringing good performances in that sense, with that underdog mindset. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I kind of took from the video was something that Parker said, and I found this really interesting. He mentioned, when asked, does he think that he could knock out Dubois? And he said, yeah, I think I could. I think I can knock out Dubois. Now, I understand, right? It's the heavyweight division. Anyone can knock out anyone. But when I think about Joseph Parker's knockout ratio, and I look at his library and I look at his resume, I don't know if there's anyone in the top 15 or the top 20 that he's knocked out, which then gives him the confidence to think, okay, right, you know what, I can actually knock this guy out. So when I look through the record, and I'm on BoxRec at the moment, his last win was in 2023, okay, against Simon Keane. And I'm not going to use Simon Keane as anyone as a gold standard, to be honest with you, because it's, with the greatest respect, he's not that level of opponent. He then faced Fega Opolu. That was again 2023. That was in Australia. Again, I don't know who that is, so I'm gonna ignore that. Then if we keep going down, Joe Joyce, Derek Chisora, these were all kind of unanimous decisions. He lost against Joe Joyce, if you don't remember. Junior Farr, he won by unanimous decision. Then in 2020, he faced Shaundell Winters. I remember that fight, and he won by 5th round TKO. So from between 2020 and now, he hasn't, well, to be fair, even going further than that, actually, I was going to say something, but even going further than that, I don't think he's knocked out anyone in the top 15 or top 20 in that sense. Now, someone can come to me and say, okay, right, you know what, Josh, but have you not seen him in the gym? he's looking sharp, he's looking powerful, he's looking big. That could equate to KOs. Totally agree. And I can understand the confidence someone might have from that. I can even understand the confidence he would have from that. But at the same time, when I'm looking at his library and his body of work, I'm not seeing anything that tells me, okay, this guy really could knock out Dubois. And again, Dubois shown a good chin. He showed it against Miller, he showed it against Hrgović. So he's got that chin and he can withstand the fire in that sense when he's getting hit on the chin. So I'm not too sure whether Joseph Parker could knock him out. Now, another thing that was interesting was around Andy Lee. Andy Lee was there, as I said before, and he questioned Dubois' mindset when he's faced with adversity. And he touched on the Usyk fight, and he said, look, you were jabbed by Usyk, and you went for adversity, and you went down on one knee. What if you're put through a similar situation like that? Do you have the mental resolve to get through that? And of course, Dubois said, yeah, he said, I can do that. He said that was different. And Frank Warren even answered as well. And he said, look, Dubois on form. And I have to say, I have to agree with Dubois on that side of things. Because in my mind, I'm thinking about his recent body of work where he's been hit and he's been hit clean. He's had to eat shots, most notably against Hrgović. And if you look at the first half of that fight, he was eating shots like anything. But he had to have the mental resolve to not be discouraged, but to still go out there and to win a fight, which he done. So I think off the back of the Usyk fight, I think there was something there that gave him a bit of confidence, especially when he knocked down Usyk. And when I say not, whether it was a low blow, not a low blow in that sense, but I think there was something that Dubois took from that he's now taken into the Miller fight, the Hrgović fight, and the AJ fight, where especially with that Hrgović fight, when he was faced with adversity, it's not something that kept him down, but he actually rose to the occasion. He rose past it, if you see what I mean, and he was able to beat Hrgović. So I think that if Joseph Parker was to go in there, and Joseph Parker's going to ask him questions, he's going to get him wondering. He's going to get him asking, can I do this? Or what do I need to do now? Do you see what I mean? Or hopefully you understand. But I do feel that in it, Dubois has the mental capacity to be able to answer those questions and get through that storm. But it's going to be interesting. It is going to be an interesting fight, I have to say. And we'll see if Dubois will be able to, bite in his gum shield again and come forward. And then the other thing as well that I found really interesting was that Dubois mentioned that Joseph Parker had his day. He was done. On that one, I have to disagree. I don't think Joseph Parker's had his day. I think if you look at the Wilder fight, and I know the Wilder fight was a lot easier than people thought, but this is a Wilder that people had pre-fight conceptions who was a devastating puncher, who could knock out Joseph Parker, a guy who could actually beat Joseph Parker. So he's come in with that notion and that mindset, and he was able to kind of withstand anything that Wilder brought. Then you look at the Zhang fight and look how he performed. Yes, he won on points. Yes, he was dropped twice, but he had to get through that. Do you see what I mean? And I don't think Joseph Parker's had his day. I think that he's still a guy who's a live wire, a guy that can cause problems, and I think he will cause problems, and he's going to ask questions of Dubois on fight night on February the 22nd. And the last bit that I found really interesting before I wrap up this video was Dubois at the end saying, shut up, shut up, shut up, to Joseph Parker, and they both kind of responded. And then Parker said something interesting. He said, what, is that all you can say? Can you not say anything more? AKA, maybe he's trying to say, look, can you not be a bit more articulate? Can you not say any more words than that? And I found it really interesting. I found it funny, to be honest with you, because again, Dubois is not the most articulate guy, but even in saying that, it was just funny to have that part in the face-off. So from the looks of it, both guys are going to be ready. They're both up for it. In terms of scores at the door, early predictions, I would say I'm going with Dubois at the moment. It could change. I think in terms of Dubois' youth, I think in terms of his power, I think it's gonna get Parker. It's gonna cause some real problems for Parker later on in the fight. But I do not at any stage count Parker out of this fight. I do believe that Parker's gonna put on a good account of himself, but I do feel that Dubois is gonna have a little bit too much for him. But anyway, let me know what you think about this. Do you think that Dubois is going to win? Do you think Parker's going to win? Who do you think is going to win? And if you've watched the face-off already, what do you think about it? What did you take from it? In terms of my opinion on it, do you agree with it? Do you disagree? Let me know your thoughts. And as always, as I said, like, share, and subscribe to the video. And until next time, guys, peace.